Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Martial Universe Season 5 based on novel. So let's start. The Devil Cliff Empire. A genuine high-rank empire. The Devil Cliff Empire possessed an illustrious reputation, even amongst the other high-rank empires. Although this kind of reputation was not always a positive one, it still struck fear in the hearts of the other empires. In the ancient battlefield, strength was the most important after all. In the past, the distribution of power in the Yang city was rather well proportioned. Even if other empires dreaded the Lingyun Empire and Great Yuan Empire, they were not too fearful of them. That kind of balanced atmosphere satisfied everyone. However, ever since the arrival of the Devil Cliff Empire, the well-balanced atmosphere of the Yang city had been officially broken. When that particular Nirvana stage practitioner stepped onto the tower and looked down at the entire city, his sinister and tyrannical voice imbued fear into numerous people. Some people could not help but sigh when they thought of the current situation in the Yang city. Indistinctly, there seemed to be prudent whisperings spreading around the city quietly. Members from the Iron Empire, the Great Tang Empire and the Black Cloud Empire have been captured by the Devil Cliff Empire. Reportedly, they are captured because of their past affiliations with Lin Dong, who disappeared in the Thunder Granite Valley after obtaining the mysterious ancient key. The Devil Cliff Empire is simply too despicable. They actually want to use such means to force Lin Dong to surface. That Lin Dong is no fool. The Devil Cliff Empire is extremely powerful, and even some high-rank empires do not dare to offend them. How could Lin Dong dare to oppose the Devil Cliff Empire single-handedly then? That's true. However, the most unlucky ones are Mo Tai and his counterparts. Given the despicable nature of the Devil Cliff Empire, if Lin Dong does not appear soon, Mo Tai and his counterparts will not be easily let off. Sigh, the Yang city is no longer peaceful anymore, it's time for us to look for another place. While these people whispered in the dark, their gazes were thrown towards the base of the tower in the city central at the same time. At this moment, there was a commotion at the spacious plaza that was located in front of the tower. Onlookers surrounded the plaza, and there were so many people that even the end could not be seen. While the onlookers gathered, there were a lot of sympathetic gazes being thrown in the direction of the plaza. In the middle of the plaza, there was a massive metal cage. However, instead of locking up some kind of beast, the cage actually confined red-eyed individuals whose faces were filled with rage and resentment. There were 3 figures sitting cross-leggedly in front of these people. They were Mo Tai, Tang Xian and Liu Xian. Right now, the gloominess on the 3 persons' faces had reached a terrifying level. They stared at the members of the Devil Cliff Empire with bloodshot eyes while an unresolvable bitterness was surging through their eyes. In their opinion, the act of locking them up in a cage and showcasing them to the public like an animal was worse than killing them. Outside of the metal cage, there were black-clothed members from the Devil Cliff Empire. At the center of the plaza, there was a man sitting on a stone chair. Meanwhile, he was looking at the metal cage with a sadistic yet indifferent tinge in his eyes. That man was not Chen Mu, instead, he was the Nirvana stage practitioner, who previously fought with Lin Dong over the Heaven Symbol Spirit Tree. His name was Li Pan, and he held a reasonably high position in the Devil Cliff Empire. He was still brooding over the fact that he got taken advantage by Lin Dong previously. Initially, he thought that he could get back at Lin Dong by obtaining the mysterious ancient key. However, the mysterious ancient key eventually landed in Lin Dong's hands. Furthermore, the most important point was that Lin Dong actually disappeared after he obtained the mysterious ancient key. That undoubtedly pissed off Li Pan. Luckily, they still had some tricks up their sleeves and were able to take control of the empires that had affiliation with Lin Dong. Unfortunately, the 3 guys who came to the Yang city together with Lin Dong managed to escape. Within this 1 month, Li Pan had tried many methods to humiliate Mo Tai and his counterparts in a futile attempt to force Lin Dong out of his hiding place. Yet the results only left him dejected and angry. That was because within this month, Lin Dong's shadow did not appear, let alone his physical body. I want to see how long can this coward hide. These people are your friends. If you don't come and save them, sooner or later, your reputation will be tarnished. Hee, you will definitely be criticized for keeping treasures for yourself while leaving your friends here to suffer. Li Pan mumbled and laughed sinisterly as a tine of chilliness flashed across his eyes. After Li Pan finished his sentence, he reached out his hand and took over a cup of hot tea from a servant. He then squinted his eyes and looked at Mo Tai and his counterparts in the metal cage and beamed. Mo Tai, don't put on a vengeful face. Instead of hating me, you should be hating that coward, Lin Dong. Because of him, all of you are in this mess now. Scumbag, you had better pray that I do not have the opportunity to leave here, otherwise, I will bite off your flesh bit by bit. Mo Tai stared fixedly at Li Pan while his eyes were bloodshot. Suddenly, the former laughed sinisterly with his face looking twisted. Hee hee. Upon hearing Mo Tai's words, Li Pan gave an extremely cold cackle. He then shot Mo Tai a glance and spoke softly. It seems that I have failed to mellow down your bad temperament during this 1 month. Do I come off as too good-natured? Li Pan suddenly stood up after he finished his sentence. With a clap of his hands, 3 daggers that were flickering with a cold deathly flash came swishing out from behind him. As the daggers flew out, 3 mournful, blood-curdling screeches broke out in the metal cage at the same time. 3 guys behind Mo Tai had their palms pierced by the daggers before dark red fresh blood flowed out of their wounds. The corners of Mo Tai's eyes were twitching while his fists were clenched tightly. As he heard those ear-piercing screams, his eyes gushed with fury. Outside of the plaza, it was completely silent. Fury was surging through the eyes of many people. Apparently, these people were enraged by Li Pan's despicable actions. However, even though they were angry, they could only clench their fists. Furthermore, once they remembered how terrifying the Devil Cliff Empire was, all of them slowly unclenched their fists. Standing on the outskirt of the plaza, Liu Yuan's face was ashen when he witnessed this sight. He clenched his fists so tightly that creaking sounds were produced. Just as he was about to lose control and say something, Ling Yun grabbed him by his side and shook his head. Don't be foolish, it's useless, Ling Yun spoke with a gloomy and powerless voice. The Devil Cliff Empire is far too powerful, so much so that they had no way to resist them. After today, I shall bring my men and leave the Yang city. I'm going to attack the Nirvana stage. Liu Yuan's body trembled slightly before he calmed himself down and replied with a hoarse voice. The sight before him made him understood the cruel reality of the ancient battlefield thoroughly. The Ling Yun duo had a tight relationship with Lin Dong as well. If not for the fact that they were both quasi-Nirvana stage practitioners, they would be locked up in the metal cage. Ling Yun remained silent as he nodded his head. In the ancient battlefield, only by attaining the Nirvana stage could one have the right to speak. Otherwise, the sight before them might happen to them in the future as well. Meanwhile, in the plaza, Li Pan was scanning his surroundings with a malevolent look. Anyone who made eye contact with him felt dreadful and left the place quickly. This put a twisted smile on Li Pan, as he liked the dominance that he was exhibiting. Mo Tai, my patience is running out. From tomorrow onwards, I shall kill 1 person each day until Lin Dong appears. Therefore, you better pray that Lin Dong stops being a coward. Otherwise, this cage shall be your final resting place, Li Pan sneered. Li Pan, you are a total bastard. Lin Dong will not appear. However, should he really appears, trust me, your ending will be 100 times more miserable than us. Suddenly, Mo Tai's previously twisted face became unusually calm. He stared at Li Pan as his voice remained composed yet contained a tinge of chilliness. The sneer on Li Pan's face froze. He then looked at Mo Tai and started chuckling. However, a cold killer intent could be seen surging through the former's eyes, displaying the fury in his heart. Since you are so stubborn, let's start today then. Li Pan smiled. With a wave of his palm, vigorous Yuan power gathered and transformed into an extremely sharp spear in his hand. With a jolt of his arm, the spear ripped through the air with an ear-piercing whistling sound and flew towards Mo Tai with a lightning speed. The speed of the spear was so fast that it created fear in one's heart. The energy that it emitted was enough to make even a Nirvana stage practitioner like Liu Yuan to tremble with horror. It was clear that Li Pan intended to kill Mo Tai. Lin Dong. Inside the steel cage, Mo Tai and the rest's eyes abruptly widened. Promptly, their bodies gently trembled as they stared at the figure with a complicated expression in their eyes. Even though they knew that Lin Dong was partially responsible for the predicament they were in, none of them genuinely blamed him. That was because from the start, all of them had planned to borrow Lin Dong's strength in order to enter Thunder Granite Valley, and Lin Dong had indeed fulfilled their wishes and brought them in, while even allowing them to reap plentiful rewards. This was a mutually beneficial partnership, and having benefited, they would naturally have to pay a price as well. Therefore, even though they were secretly disappointed deep in their hearts by Lin Dong's absence in the past month, they did not hate him. All of them knew that if they were in Lin Dong's shoes, they would absolutely not dare to show up at all. After all, the Devil Cliff Empire was no kind-hearted Buddha. Based on how they operated, once Lin Dong showed up, his life would immediately be in danger. This meant certain death, hence, unless he was a fool, no one would expect him to show up for some acquaintances. However, what shook Missouri Te and the rest to the very core was that Lin Dong showed up in the end. It was difficult to explain how great a blow had been dealt to Mo Te and the rest's hearts when they saw the rather wiry figure appear. Yet, one could deduce the state of their hearts by the redness in the eyes of these men that were as tough as nails. The figure that sudden appeared also drew the attention of the elite Devil Cliff Empire practitioners. Immediately, streams of potent Yuan power erupted as all of them turned their vigilant and cold gazes towards the intruder. However, in the face of these imposing Devil Cliff Empire practitioners, Lin Dong did not display the slightest bit of emotion. He looked at the steel cages in front of him as he slowly stretched out his hand and clenched. Crack! As Lin Dong clenched his fist, the black steel cage slowly started to squirm. Evidently, this steel cage was made from a rather unique material as it emitted a faint glow while trying to struggle against his massive strength. However, in the end, it finally exploded with a loud bang. After he casually destroyed the steel cage, Lin Dong's somewhat cold eyes finally shifted to Li Pan, who was standing in the middle of the arena, before a flat voice sounded out, "Be a good boy and ask Chen Mu to step out." From start to finish, Lin Dong had never paid any attention to Li Pan. This total disregard first caused Li Pan to be stunned, before his face slowly became twisted. "Hee, you would risk yourself for your friends. TCH, even I can't help but feel touched by your righteousness." While his face twitched, Li Pan stared venomously at Lin Dong before laughing in a weird manner. "Nonetheless, you must pay a hefty price in return for your righteousness. That's fine as well. Since you have shown up, you'll have to stay. I will prepare a special steel cage for you." Lin Dong glanced at him before turning to look at Mo Te and the rest and asked, "Are you all right? Brother Lin Dong, we are very grateful that you are willing to show up. However, the Devil Cliff Empire is no ordinary faction, and if a battle occurs later on, we will duke it out with them. If there is an opportunity, please leave on your own. After you have grown stronger, you can always come back for revenge." Mo Te solemnly said. When he heard his words, Lin Dong smiled before he patted Mo Te's shoulders and said, "Since I have shown up, I will naturally ensure that all of you can leave peacefully as well. Leave everything else up to me." As he spoke, Lin Dong slowly walked forward. His eyes scanned across his surroundings. However, when he failed to detect Chen Mu's presence, he immediately furrowed his brows. "No need to bother. Senior Chen Mu is not in Yang City, and I am running this place." As if he knew who Lin Dong was looking for, Li Pan gently smiled before he said, "You should be thankful that Senior Chen Mu is not here. Else, you would not even have the guts to stand there. I know you have other trump cards besides your soul puppet. It's fine with me. Today, I have the time to play with your soul puppet. However, you will have to deal with 4 half-step to Nirvana stage practitioners on your own." Li Pan smiled at Lin Dong. Behind him, 4 figures slowly walked out as they looked down on Lin Dong. Their auras were evidently at half-step to Nirvana stage, and they were much more powerful than Mo Te and the rest, who were also at half-step to Nirvana stage. Evidently, they had a more powerful cultivation base. "I will leave him to you guys." Li Pan sat down on his stone chair, before he started sadistically at Lin Dong. His expression looked just like a cat that was teasing a mouse. He was curious to find out what other tricks Lin Dong had up his sleeves. Crack! Those 4 half-step to Nirvana stage practitioners released an odd laugh, before they cracked their knuckles. Without further ado, their feet stomped against the ground, before their powers gushed out. Then, 4 figures flashed across the sky like arrows before they flew towards Lin Dong. When those 4 half-step to Nirvana stage practitioners flew over, a vicious glint flashed across Mo Te and the rest's eyes. However, just as they were about to make a move, standing in front of them, Lin Dong calmly stretched out his palm before he swiped his palm. 4 crisp noises suddenly echoed out in mid-air. Then, the crowds were shocked when they saw that those 4 menacing half-step to Nirvana stage practitioners were all blown away, just as if they had encountered an immovable barrier. Meanwhile, there was a blood-red palm print on all of their faces. Mental energy. Li Pan, who had just sat down on a stone chair in anticipation of a good show, finally revealed a solemn expression on his hideous face. As he stared at Lin Dong, his words slowly echoed out. Perhaps others failed to recognize it. However, when Lin Dong previously swiped his palm, he could clearly feel an extremely formidable mental energy that was powerful enough to suffocate a person, gushing out from within his body. His mental energy shockwaves have far exceeded that of an ordinary soul symbol master. Have you advanced to heavenly symbol master? Li Pan's voice suddenly turned coarse, as he stared grimly at Lin Dong and asked. In this instance, he had finally realized why Lin Dong actually dared to show up. That was because he had absolute confidence in himself. After all, a heavenly symbol master is an existence that could rival a nirvana stage practitioner. His originally playful and sadistic heart began to slowly sink. It seems like this situation was slowly spinning out of control. Heavenly symbol master. Li Pan did not try to conceal his words. Therefore, everyone around him clearly heard what he said. Immediately, all of their pupils shrunk. After all, everyone in this arena was clearly aware of what that rank indicates. It indicated that Lin Dong possessed the qualifications to rival a nirvana stage practitioner. In a manner of speaking, he could be considered as a nirvana stage practitioner. When they thought of his point, Mo Ti, Liu Yuan and the rest felt slightly nauseous. In merely a month's time, Lin Dong's strength had undergone a revolutionary change. As they stared at that lean figure, everyone's heart was filled with admiration and respect. This was their respect towards power. Unknowingly, it seems like this teenager, who was merely at advanced manifestation stage when he first arrived at Yang City, had actually stealthily left them eating his dust. He must be destined to shine in this ancient battlefield. The entire area was silent. On the stone chair, Li Pan's expression was one of dread. Lin Dong's sudden advancement to the Heaven Symbol Master had evidently surpassed his expectations, and this situation had already spun out of his control. He clearly understood that since Lin Dong had advanced to Heavenly Symbol Master, he had the ability to face off directly against him. Moreover, Lin Dong still had a soul puppet in his hands that was comparable to a nirvana stage practitioner. This lineup was enough to frighten Li Pan. I was wondering why you dared to appear. It turns out that you had something up your sleeve. However, though he felt fearful, Li Pan did not panic. He icily stared at Lin Dong while these words slowly left his mouth. There were many Devil Cliff Empire practitioners at this side, and among them were 2 quasi-nirvana practitioners, with strengths comparable to Liu Yuan and the rest. In addition, there were some half-step to nirvana practitioners, overall an extremely luxurious lineup. Even a heavenly symbol master like Lin Dong plus the soul puppet in his hands would be unable to shake them. As if they had sensed how thorny a problem Lin Dong was, wind noises suddenly rang out in the area. Subsequently, some black-clothed figures appeared on the plaza with their cold gazes vigilantly locked onto Lin Dong. This lineup caused the onlookers' hearts to be alarmed. As expected, this Devil Cliff Empire was a rather powerful existence even among the high-rank empires. Mo Tai and the rest, who were originally astonished by the formidable mental energy Lin Dong had displayed, regained their wits at this moment. Following which, their expressions changed gently when they witnessed this scene. Lin Dong, if you're smart, hand over the ancient secret key, and we can erase the grudge between you and my Devil Cliff Empire. Li Pan stood up, darkly staring at Lin Dong as he slowly spoke. I know that you have already advanced to become a Heaven Symbol Master. However, let me warn you, this still poses no threat at all to my Devil Cliff Empire. There is no lack of nirvana practitioners among the empires that have fallen to our Devil Cliff Empire. Li Pan's words were clearly a little less contemptuous compared to before. However, the threat within them was instead much greater. His words were very easily understood. They meant to warn Lin Dong that advancing to Heavenly Symbol Master level did not indicate that he had the qualifications to negotiate with their Devil Cliff Empire. Since they had eliminated even Nirvana stage practitioners before, taking care of Lin Dong would not be a difficult matter. Whether you want to become friends or enemies with my Devil Cliff Empire hinges on your reply. Li Pan declared in an indifferent manner. One could not help but admit that Li Pan's words contained an extreme amount of pressure. After all, the Devil Cliff Empire was too powerful and anyone would think twice before offending them. Additionally, it was said that a high-rank empire had been directly wiped out by Devil Cliff Empire a few years ago, causing their terrible reputation to arise. Even some Nirvana stage practitioners did not dare to carelessly offend them, and this was also the ultimate reason why everyone had to swallow and hide their indignation during Li Pan's tyrannical reign in Yang City. A single Nirvana stage practitioner was not enough to make them fearful, but the Devil Cliff Empire backing him possessed that ability. The raising corners of Li Pan's mouth froze, before traces of maliciousness gradually climbed up on his face. He stared at Lin Dong with a face interlaced with green and red before venomously saying, "Such a hard bone, however. Since you don't want the face that I've given, you can only blame yourself for not making use of this final chance." As Li Pan's venomous words gradually faded, surging yuan power immediately spread out from his body like a tide, the enormous pressure directly causing the surrounding people to feel breathless. Li Pan's face twitched with malevolence, obviously completely outraged by Lin Dong. From Li Pan's point of view, even if Lin Dong had truly advanced to become a heavenly symbol master, he did not have the qualifications to speak to Li Pan in such a manner. Bang! Thousand Beast Fist. A muffled explosion sounded out. The crowd watched as Li Pan's figure shot out like an arrow as his fist flew forward, instantly exploding the air. Vigorous without equal yuan power swept outwards, condensing into a stampede of beasts, which roared as they charged towards Lin Dong. The power of this attack was rather astonishing. Every demonic beast made from yuan power contained a terrifying undulation that was enough to destroy a half-stepped Nirvana practitioner. With such a number of beasts gathered together, even the expression of a quasi-Nirvana stage practitioner like Liu Yuan changed tremendously. Lin Dong's figure did not move at all. While he watched Li Pan's attack, a burning expression arose in his eyes. He did not summon his blood-soul puppet. The current him very much wanted to personally test how powerful his mental energy had grown after advancing to Heavenly Symbol Master. The inside of his Niwen palace, that had become a mini-world, started to churn at this moment as if a gale was forming. Rumble. The sky above the plaza suddenly darkened as a strong wind blew past. Everyone could feel terrifying mental energy spread out across the area. Break. A bright light shined in Lin Dong's eyes. His hand grabbed out as a hurricane started to form within his palm, directly transforming into a hurricane hand which mercilessly flew towards the stampeding beasts made of yuan power. Bang! Low explosion noises continuously echoed. Wherever the hurricane hand went, yuan power demonic beasts were completely blown apart. In addition, even the ground broke as cracks formed due to the sweeping hurricane. As they watched Lin Dong's almost effortless move, everyone in the area could not help but gasp once again. Was this the power of a heaven symbol master? Transforming mental energy into wind and then into a palm attack. Such level of power was indeed extremely formidable. However, he did not know that when Lin Dong reached the heaven symbol master stage, he had also obtained some of the memories and experiences of the dead practitioner within the mysterious key space. Hence, his mental energy control and utilization obviously far surpassed Li Pan's expectations. It just so happens that I can use you as practice. In response to Li Pan's suddenly more powerful attacks, the fire in Lin Dong's eyes burned even hotter. He directly stepped on the wind as he moved, his figure as incorporeal as the mist. At this moment, gales blew across the land while lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. While obtaining some of that practitioner's experiences and memories, Lin Dong had also received some valuable mental energy utilization methods. He very much wanted to find out how powerful his mental energy was at full force now. Rumble. Tumble. Lightning flickered across the horizon as everyone stared at this scene in horror. Evidently, such an abnormal phenomenon had been brought forth by Lin Dong's mental energy. Boom. An enormous bolt of lightning poured down like a pillar of light, while gales also started to take shape. In the end, wind and lightning was forcibly fused together by the unimaginable mental energy. Wind lightning fist. Lin Dong floated above the wind and lightning. Soon after, his hand abruptly slapped out. Immediately, the incomparably berserk lightning and wind swiftly squirmed, condensing into a humongous palm of light under numerous astonished gazes. This light palm was not made from yuan power, but completely formed from pure lightning and wind. Though there was admittedly powerful mental energy wrapped around it. This was a style that was completely different from yuan power. Bang! The wind lightning palm formed as Lin Dong's eyes abruptly turned cold. Without the slightest bit of hesitation, the palm furiously descended upon Li Pan below. Boom! Before the wind lightning palm landed, there was already an enormous depression on the plaza. Afterward, a resplendent light palm that engraved itself into Li Pan's shocked eyes, brought with it the momentum of wind and lightning as it viciously slammed down. The resplendent light palm illuminated the entire plaza. The rumbling thunder and howling wind noises that surged within caused shock to surge on everyone's faces. A heavenly symbol master's mental energy had actually reached such an astonishing level. Under the wind lightning light palm, Li Pan wore an extremely serious expression. He could sense the terrifying energy contained within the wind lightning palm, and he did not dare to be the least bit negligent. His hands abruptly clenched before dazzling golden light abruptly burst out from his body. It was as if his entire body was made of gold at this moment. Nirvana golden body, the mark of a Nirvana practitioner. In the face of such a powerful attack from Lin Dong, Li Pan had been forced to completely activate his Nirvana golden body. Golden light flowing, Li Pan did not hesitate at all as frightening Yuan power frantically condensed on his fists before he punched out. There was nothing fancy about this fist, but the undulations contained within were powerful enough to heavily injure a quasi-Nirvana stage practitioner like Liu Yuan. Boom. Under the attention of countless individuals, the golden first directly clashed against the humongous wind lightning palm. Immediately, a loud and piercing sound echoed across the plaza. Bang. As the loud noise resounded, berserk undulations also spread outwards. Ripples which could be seen with the naked eye, swept out, directly turning the stone stores in the plaza into countless fine fragments, while cracks swiftly extended on the ground. A cloud of dust spread out from the center of the plaza, while everyone nearby quickly retreated back. All of them knew that if even they were a half-step to Nirvana stage practitioner, if they were sucked into that mess, they would most likely be killed. Boom. As the dust slowly settled, while the crowd eagerly awaited the outcome, a hideous figure quickly shot out from within. Furthermore, each time his foot touched the ground below will be blown into dust. The crowd immediately turned to look at that hideous-looking figure before their pupils shrunk. That was because that hideous-looking figure was actually Li Pan from Devil Cliff Empire. This scene immediately caused a series of exclaims to sound out from within the crowd. Amidst the commotion from the crowd, Li Pan's face was steely green yet with a tinge of fear. Previously, even after he actually executed Nirvana Gold Body, he still lost out to Lin Dong's powerful palm attack. Furthermore, the instant their palms collided, he could clearly feel a savage lighting force wind penetrate every pore of his body causing him immense pain. That fellow has just advanced to Heavenly Symbol Master. How can his mental energy be this formidable? Li Pan's expression changed drastically. Evidently, that previous bout had caused waves to stir in his heart. It seems like your Nirvana stage is not as powerful. Just as Li Pan's expression changed, that widespread dust suddenly vanished. Following which, Lin Dong's figure resurfaced in front of the crowd. Right now, he was hovering in mid-air, while he looked down on Li Pan. After that previous exchange, he was clearly aware that even though Li Pan was also at Nirvana stage, he was severely lacking compared to Chen Mu and Mu Hongling. It seems like that fellow got lucky when he attempted to break through to Nirvana stage. When he heard Lin Dong's words, Li Pan's originally grim expression turned even more venomous. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Don't be too arrogant. Once you offend my Devil Cliff Empire, you shall no longer have peace." Boom. However, just as Li Pan finished his sentence, thunder rumbled across the sky once again. Following which, Lin Dong chuckled before a formidable and savage lightning palm unceremoniously flew towards Li Pan. When he saw this situation, Li Pan quickly activated this Yuan power. Instantly, thunder ricocheted across the arena. When they saw Li Pan constantly falling back, due to Lin Dong's vicious attack, all the elite Devil Cliff Empire practitioners' expressions changed drastically. None of them expected Li Pan to wound up in such a sorry state. Outside of the arena, Mo Ti and the rest were extremely shocked by this sight. None of them had expected that this Nirvana stage practitioner, who can practically dictate their lives, was rendered completely useless in front of Lin Dong. Boom. A deep voice sounded out in the arena, as Li Pan was once again blown back by Lin Dong's powerful thunder palm. However, this time around, he was evidently wounded. As he attempted to forcefully stabilize his body, he immediately vomited out a mouthful of fresh blood, and there were actually lightning sparks contained within his crimson red blood. Evidently, Li Pan's body had been invaded by a large amount of lightning power. Li Pan wiped off the blood trails on his mouth, and his expression looked extremely twisted. He stared right at Lin Dong, who looked down on him from above, before the rage inside his heart finally overwhelmed his mind. Immediately, he shouted out venomously, "Set up the formation." After facing him directly, he clearly knew that he was not Lin Dong's opponent. Therefore, it was impossible for him to fight with him alone. The other elite Devil Cliff Empire practitioner were already shocked by this fight. However, they were no ordinary faction. Immediately, they quickly calmed themselves down, before a series of deep roars erupted. Following which, all of them quickly retreated, before they formed into a large formation in order to deal with Lin Dong. Hovering in mid-air, when Lin Dong saw this sight, he coldly snorted instead. There were many elite Devil Cliff Empire practitioners, and all of them were fairly skilled. If he allowed them to set up a large formation, they may perhaps become a major problem for him. This was naturally a situation that he did not want to see. Therefore, Lin Dong immediately waved his sleeves, before a fiery red figure lightning quick flew out. In a flash, it dashed into the crowd of elite Devil Cliff Empire practitioners. Following which, anyone who touched its palm attack were all blown away before they vomited blood. Based on its actions, it seemed just like a wolf inside a sheep pen. Be careful, that is a soul puppet. When he saw his formation rapidly breaking down, Li Pan's expression changed drastically. Just as he was about to step out and block it, the ground beneath him suddenly cracked open. Following which, countless sharp mud columns wrapped with formidable mental energy shot out from the ground, just like poisonous snakes. Mental energy was not as vigorous as Yuan power. However, it possessed unique properties, which allowed it to control the Yuan power between heaven and earth. This proved to be a major headache for Li Pan, and he did not dare to underestimate him, as he could only avoid his attacks hideously. Just as Li Pan was being forced into a sorry state, the other elite Devil Cliff Empire practitioner were either wounded or killed by Lin Dong's soul puppet. In the end, only the combined effort of two pseudo-nirvana stage practitioner was able to barely halt the blood soul puppet's massacre. However, judging from their pale expressions, it was evident that they could not last for long. The Devil Cliff Empire men, who were dominating Yang City, were actually being forced into such a sorry state by Lin Dong and his blood soul puppet alone. This sight completely shocked countless onlookers. Li Pan, who was constantly being pushed back by Lin Dong, had evidently noticed the situation. Immediately, he forcefully suppressed a tinge of bitterness that had swelled up in his throat, before he quickly retreated. Then, he coldly shouted, "Lin Dong, you have won today. However, don't be too arrogant. Though your three friends have managed to run away, Senior Chen Mu is already after them. Once they land in our Devil Cliff Empire's hands, you shall come to me on your knees. Go." After he shouted, without a moment of hesitation, Li Pan's figure flashed before he headed for the outskirts of Yang City. However, just as he turned around, he failed to see that after he spoke, a venomous killing intent immediately gushed into Lin Dong's eyes. "Does your Devil Cliff Empire really believe that I am a pushover that is completely at your mercy? In that case, let me teach you guys a lesson." Lin Dong's figure flashed, before he directly appeared above Li Pan. As his hand's seal changed, majestic mental energy swept forth, just like hurricane. Instantly, the clouds shook, before thunder and lightning ricocheted across the sky. Great heavenly thunder voice. Countless dancing lightning snakes were reflected in Lin Dong's pupils, as his hand seals changed. Following which, the storm clouds in the sky actually faintly formed into a large mouth, before an extremely terrifying sonic boom descended and completely enveloped Li Pan. Even though Li Pan had instantly activated his Nirvana golden body, it seems like he had still underestimated the destructive potential of this great heavenly thunder voice. That voice penetrated through every single pore of his body, and it seemed like he could hear dull explosive noises continuously sounded out from his body. Immediately, he vomited out a mouthful of fresh blood. This deadly attack finally forced fear to surge in Li Pan's eyes. At this moment he finally began to panic. Previously, he knew that Lin Dong had no intention of killing him, and he assumed that it was because the latter was wary of his Devil Cliff Empire. However, right now, he knew that the words that he just said had completely pissed off Lin Dong. "Lin Dong, if you dare to kill me, our Devil Cliff Empire will make sure you pay back 1,000 times in return." Li Pan turned around. His face was pale, as he stared at Lin Dong, before he shouted fearsomely. Lin Dong's eyes were ice-cold. Originally, he did not plan to kill him since the Devil Cliff Empire was truly a tricky foe. However, judging from the current situation, it seems like even if he relented, the Devil Cliff Empire would not forgive him. In that case, he had no choice but to act in a merciless fashion. "I am curious to find out what your Devil Cliff Empire can do to me after I kill you." Lin Dong's expression was grim as he took a step forward. Following which, a long spear suddenly materialized in his hand, before he jerked his arm and viciously flung it towards Li Pan. Outside the arena, countless people sucked in a breath of cold air as they stared at Lin Dong, who was overflowing with killing intent. Evidently, they had never expected that Lin Dong actually dared to kill a Nirvana practitioner from Devil Cliff Empire. As he stared at that mental energy spear accompanied by an explosive splitting wind sound, Li Pan's pupils shrunk. Immediately, a golden glow erupted on his body. With a deep growl, he suddenly stretched out his golden palms, before he forcefully grabbed onto that mental energy spear. That long spear caused sparks to emerge on his palm, while an intense pain spread out. Nonetheless, thanks to his all-out effort, that lethal spear finally stopped while it was merely inches away from his chest. When he saw that he had intercepted Lin Dong's lethal attack, Li Pan finally heaved a sigh of relief. Promptly, a poisonous glint flashed in his eyes. After he left Yang City, he must gather more men and hunt Lin Dong down like a dog. Just as this thought flashed across Li Pan's mind, a red glow flashed in front of him, before a fiery red figure immediately appeared. Following which, it punched out and its impact landed right on the tail of that mental energy spear. Instantly, a terrifying force erupted, before that mental energy spear broke free of Li Pan's grip with a loud swoosh. Finally, under the bewildered stares of the crowd, it viciously penetrated through his body before it appeared behind his back. Instantly, the entire arena seemed to have quietened down. Part 1 end here.